Today we are taking a look back at a very weird camera. It is the Sony HDR-MV1. This isn't a camcorder, this is not an action camera, but a music video recorder according to Sony. It has the screen on the side and here on the front it has two very high quality microphones. But what even is this camera? Why did Sony make it and why didn't they release a new version? Well, the idea of this camera was if you wanted to record a high quality audio and just set down a camera and then play an instrument, for example, then you could use this camera because it has two microphones to create a stereo effect. And unlike Sony's action cam lineup, you can see that the microphone is much bigger on the music video recorders. So that means that it can capture higher quality audio. And also the screen, you have it here just to do a quick framing before you hit the record button. And when they were released, they were about 200 euros new, but now they are still about 150 euros on the used market. But the build quality of this thing is actually pretty decent. Yes, it's obviously made from plastic everywhere, but that's obviously something you can expect at this price point. And it also has this nice joystick that you can use to change menu settings. And what's also interesting is when you turn the camera on, you can see it actually has the menu system of the Sony Handycam lineup. And you can use the joystick to move around with different settings. So I think that's pretty cool, but obviously having the screen on the side is a bit limited. So it's just for quick framing, you hit record and then you don't really look at the screen at all anymore. So it's nice that unlike the action cams it has a screen, but it's also not that useful because it's here on the side. But changing the menu settings actually works pretty decent, and it's nice because you also have different audio options, so you can choose between linear PCM or you can also add a low cut filter to this camera. And on the back you also have a headphone port so you can listen live to the audio with headphones, or a microphone input, so you can attach a different microphone. And I don't know why you would want to attach an external microphone on this camera, because the microphone quality is already very good on this. For the battery, it still uses the MPBX1 batteries, so you can still get them, and they are also used in the newer Sony cameras, so that is pretty good. And because the screen isn't that high of a resolution and it doesn't shoot in very high bitrate codecs, the battery life of this camera is actually pretty good. And maybe if you're doing a long event, I'm not sure if one battery is enough, because I think you can get about 1.5 hours out of this camera, but that really depends on if the condition of the battery is good or not. On the front here it has an f2.8 lens and it is a wide angle 120 degree lens, so unlike the Sony action cam, it is a little bit more zoomed in and it doesn't have a lot of distortion. It does have a little bit of a fisheye effect on the edges. But the video aspect on this camera is definitely starting to get outdated because it can only shoot in 1080p at 30 fps, so there isn't even a slow motion option, only 1080 or 720p, and you can see it looks okay, the video quality is decent, but it's obviously nothing amazing. It's definitely that you're buying this camera for the microphone quality. And it's a fixed focus, so it will focus to infinity. There's no autofocus on this camera, obviously. So this camera sits kind of between a camcorder and an action cam. But then it has a better microphone. So how is the microphone quality? Well, it is really good in my opinion. You can hear a lot of detail, but there are a few downsides to this microphone. I have noticed that it picks up a lot of handling noise, and the camera has no digital or optical stabilization at all. So it is really meant to be put on a tripod and then record audio. And what's also disappointing is that these microphones don't have any wind noise reduction. So you will hear handling noise and you will hear the wind if you're using it outside. So for vlogging, this is definitely not a good camera because you also can't see yourself with the screen and it will pick up every single bit of wind you will hear. So that's really disappointing. I also tried using the wind map from my other Sony microphone. I put it on here and that worked fine, but even with the windscreen it would still pick up the wind noise, so that's really disappointing. Obviously you do have a low cut filter, but then the audio quality will get a bit worse, obviously. So this camera is meant for indoor use on a tripod recording audio. And that's why I think they discontinued this camera, because that was the only reason you would buy this camera. So this is a very niche camera. It's not meant for vlogging, it's not meant for going outdoors. Okay, so this is a quick video and audio test using the Sony HDR-MV1. I'm using it handheld right now. So if I move this camera around a bit, you will hear some noise in the microphones. But now let's go outside so I can show you how good the audio quality is when you're outside. So right now I am on the left side of the camera and now I'm in front of it. And now I'm going to the right side so you can hear how the stereo microphone works on the Sony HDR-MV1. So now when I move back to the left side, you should hear me on the left side. So right now I am outside using the Sony HDR-MV1 and there's a cat here. Hello. But there's no wind at all, so if you hear wind then that will be a bit strange. But I do notice that it picks up a lot of wind somehow, so that's a bit disappointing. But how's the video quality? How is the audio quality? So it doesn't have stabilization, which means that the video might look a little bit shaky. One nice thing though is that the startup time is really fast. I hit the power button right now and boom, it's turned on. So that is also a really nice feature to have. The low light performance for the time was really good, but nowadays it's obviously not that great. So again, for video, you shouldn't buy this. You should just buy this for the good microphone quality. So should you still buy the Sony MV1 in 2025? Well, this camera is definitely a great option for a very specific person. That's someone who wants to record really good quality audio without putting in that much effort. So you can just hit record, put it on a tripod, so you're not moving it because it has no stabilization and the wind noise reduction is terrible. So it has to be indoors, not outdoors, but then you will get some really nice quality audio. And you don't want to put this camera on the tripod, then this is definitely not the camera for you. But it was a very unique camera for the time. And I wish there was a version of this that did have stabilization and also better wind noise reduction, because that would have made a great vlogging camera. But what do you think of this Sony HDR-MV1? Let me know in the comments down below and thank you so much for watching.